Hey everybody, we're live again for another installment of Coffee with John and Brandon. Hey John, how are you, buddy?
How's it going, Brandon?
Good. How's BC?
God's country.
God's country. Yeah. Hey man. Yeah. No, we're diving in today, so we're gonna shift gears a little bit. Before we do that, I wanted to point out a few things for everybody while we're getting started here. Um, some strangely enough, somebody was asking me about you, and I said that I was going to actually introduce you in the next Coffee with John and Brandon. Now I know that we did a I'm Brandon and I'm John kind of introduction for one of our first things, but
Right.
why don't you just give us a quick little like who is John and where is John and what does John do?
All right. I'll make it quick so I don't bore the heck out of everybody. Um, I'm based out in BC, suburbs of Vancouver, Surrey. Some of you may know where Surrey is. Um, I've been doing this for quite a long time now. I think got my start about 16 years ago. I was living overseas and got into the business while working for a lawyer. Then I moved back to Canada and started my own practice after taking the educational component to become an immigration consultant.
Yeah.
And over the years, I practiced in most areas of immigration. I don't do a lot of things like refugee or high level appeals or anything like that. I leave those to the experts in our industry. But yeah, and I have my own company based out in British Columbia, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Awesome. So, yeah, thanks, John, for doing that. So, my name is Brandon Miller. I'm based in Toronto. So, I've been in the immigration industry for about coming up on about 10 years. Prior to that, I was helping people settle into Canada. And it's been kind of the precipice of getting started with Second Passport. So, Second Passport's a collaboration here between immigration and a number of different professionals. Started off with the book, right? And the book, it's all about planning, implementation, and settlement, right? So this bad boy here is a system that I've been using for about 10 years and that a number of us use. And that's what Second Passport is. It's basically putting together a plan, implementing it, and then actually settling. And sadly, settling is the one area that people tend not to do so well with sometimes if they don't plan. And I know we've talked about that a few times here and there, John, but I think we should
Right.
actually delve into that one of these days a lot harder. Because again, it's something that you can very easily deal with. Now, if you are looking to plan, you'll see that we've got some different graphics here. We run a 5-day immigration blueprint challenge. And what the challenge is about is it's about getting that initial action plan together where you can actually go through on a 5-day schedule, go through some lessons. It's done live where we're going through and we're talking about a high level overview of the system and immigration, et cetera, et cetera. Then we're talking about the Canadian immigration system and all the different programs. Day 3, we talk about the settling in and whatnot. Day 4 is putting the plan together, and day 5 is wrapping it all up. So at the end of it, you'll actually leave with a plan that's together. Now we do an on-demand one, but we're actually doing a live one. So you'll see that we've actually put that there, and we'll put up the information so that you can go check that out. Now, let's dive into our topic for today, John. We were going to talk about representation
Right.
because this is something that people sometimes ask is, why should I use a representative, or what are you going to do? So what do you say to that, John, usually?
Well, as we talked about last time, it's about client experience, a large part of it. Um, and the other thing is when you choose a representative in Canada, the only people that can represent you for immigration are lawyers, immigration consultants, and also Quebec notaries. If you're in Quebec and you're having representation before the Quebec government, you can have a notary in Quebec help you. Um, you can use the analogy like a physician does surgery, but a nurse doesn't, and a nurse can have vast knowledge of a certain area of medicine. Lawyers are almost the same way. They can go to federal court. you have something very important, you have to file an appeal before the Canadian judicial system, you're going to need a lawyer. We can't do that. Our RSACs can't touch that territory. But you don't always need specialization that advanced to represent you for your RCIC. So if you want somebody to prepare and prepare an application and represent you before the federal government, very carefully and thoroughly, then you can look towards having an immigration consultant.
I take a bit of a different tack with that. So I know the first thing that we were talking about was immigration lawyers and immigration consultants, and a lot of times people, people are like, "Oh, are you a lawyer? What's the difference between a lawyer and a consultant?" And I dispel all of that. Like, I don't even enter into that conversation. And us, we're better than this, that, whatever. What I usually tend to tell people is like, either way you go, you want to look at who you're most comfortable with, right? You have to pick the person that you're most comfortable working with, because immigrating to Canada is a very personal experience, right? Now, if you're going to go and engage some large law firm or something or large firm of some sorts, where you're going to talk to somebody initially, and then you're going to talk to, a paralegal somewhere, you should ask these questions. When I deal with my clients, obviously I have a team, right? But I'm very hands-on, as is John, right? We're both very hands-on.
Very good point. Very good points, brother. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, who are you dealing with? The other thing too is the specialization. As John alluded to when he introduced himself, he said something. He's like, I don't deal with refugees. And you know what? I don't either. And the reason that I don't is because it's a whole different area that's very specialized. And I don't keep up on all the stuff that's going on in the Immigration Refugee Board and all of those different things, because I'm not going to work in that area. And you really need to ask these questions, as opposed to like, oh, is a consultant better than a lawyer? It's a bad question. You should ask people like, what's your specialty? What applications do you tend to do? Like, are you really good at, this? What's your track record? How does my situation work, et cetera, et cetera. So, I don't know. A lot of times people shop based on fees, I find too. I don't think that's a good idea. I think
I agree. I agree that there's, immigration lawyers are not better than consultants, and consultants are not better than lawyers, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the individual professional who you're going to retain to help you. As you point out, ask questions, find out exactly how they're going to help you. You can have, again, to use a medical qualification, medical analogy, say you broke your leg, right? Are you going to have a doctor who's an ophthalmologist set your bone, or are you going to have an orthopedic nurse who has 25 years of experience set your bone? The doctor may have the better title. He or she may not necessarily have the most experience in the area of specialization. The same thing. You can be proficient in law, but what area of law? What's your specialization? Where is your experience?
Exactly. And that's the thing that chafes me a little bit, because some guys are you'll see some people, they'll be dealing with like real estate, and then they'll be dealing with like trusts and wills, and then they'll be doing immigration in the afternoon. I'm a one trick pony. I do immigration, and I specialize in immigration, and that's it. Right. So those are really important. But I would really sum that up as don't get caught up in this whole argument, because I'll tell you what, John used to work way back when, doing some stuff with, CBSA or the thing there, customs, right? When he wore the suit,
back when it was customs. Yeah.
And there's a lot of our colleagues that have worked for the federal government as immigration officers for 20 years. You don't think that they know how the system works, So these are things I don't even enter into that agreement or argument. So let's shift, because this is going to be our public service here as well. I want to talk about ghost consultants, John. What's a ghost consultant, buddy?
Someone who will represent you, but they're not allowed to, in a nutshell. Again, as I said a few minutes ago, the only people that can represent you before IRCC for a fee, consultants, lawyers, Quebec notaries. Ghost consultants are usually individuals who operate overseas outside Canadian jurisdiction. And they say, look, I'll prepare your application for you and stick it into the government queue, but my name's not going to be on anything. Therefore, that's the ghost aspect of being a consultant. They prepare your application for a fee, but then they disappear. They don't want anything to do with you. Whatever you do, guys, do not use a ghost consultant, because there's no help. And 99% of the time, they have no experience or knowledge of what they're doing.
You know, so I always tell people when I speak about fraud. So basically, a ghost consultant is a fraud, right?
Yeah. Yes,
They're not legally entitled to represent your application. They're putting you in a bad spot where you're going to be signing the forms and you're responsible for what's there. And you really don't have any recourse. You know, we have a professional, standards that we have to abide by. We have a code of ethics, all these different things, quite frankly. So let's not delve too much into that. But again, one of the warning signs with that is if they're not actually on a representative body, if they're not a consultant or a lawyer in Canada, is something. Just because somebody's a lawyer in your home country doesn't make them actually able to represent you for that. And signing of a retainer or a user rep form, that's actually a huge red flag for you. And you got to understand something. When you submit an application to immigration, right? You've just put yourself on the record. You get something called a UCI number, which is a unique client identifier, which means you now have a record with the immigration department. So if you actually engage the services of somebody who's a ghost consultant or somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, you now have a record that's on there. And that UCI will follow you around from 9 years after your last interaction with the immigration department. So it's there for a while. So it's really, really important. Now, listen, we're live right now. And if I know that there's a few people watching, well, more than a few, but if you guys have some questions, this is very unscripted. We've put together something so we don't show up and we're like, hey, John, how are you, bud? So we're trying to do a theme, but if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to type them in, because we're going to shift gears and answer those. So please type them into Facebook, and we can answer whatever you want, either on this topic or even off it a little bit too. So, John, did you have anything else you want to say on ghost consultants, or you want to leave those alone?
I think not enough said, really.
I think so too. So here's the next question. Should I do my own application? Should I do my application on my own? All right. I know everyone's going to think that this is pretty self-serving, right? But no, this is actually, you'll probably be very surprised what I'm about to say. Yeah, you might be able to do your stuff on your own, and there's a lot of people that are, but you have to be honest with yourself in terms of level of competency and understanding, and also go in eyes wide open as to what you're getting yourself into. And I think that that's important. So yes, you can do it by yourself. And I'll tell you about what Denise said to me today in the meeting, because we were talking about our wins in the company meeting. But what do you say about that when somebody says that to you, John? What do I need you for? You're just filling out forms.
I pretty much say the same thing you do. Should I do my application on my own? I go, if you're comfortable with it, sure, knock yourself out. And I'm not trying to be flippant when I say knock yourself out. I mean, truly, if you can look at what you're facing, and as you said, be honest with yourself, and you're confident that you can do it, sure. I mean, I often have consultations with people who are tackling it on their own, and they want to talk to me for half an hour before they put it in on their own to answer some niggling questions they may have. Perfectly fine. Like I said, we're always going to be under accusations of being self-serving. And again, you guys may have heard me before. I use the accountant analogy. There are tons of people who do their own tax returns. Tons and tons and tons. But for those that are finding it uncomfortable, that they have extra questions, that they're not quite sure, the accounting industry is available to be retained for help. We're exactly the same thing in my view, right? If you need help, if you're too busy, if you're just wanting to hand it over to a professional, this is where we can assist.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good stuff, John. It's funny you say that because that's exactly what Denise said. Because right now, guys, in Canada, tax time is April 30th. The deadline, which is tomorrow. And Denise is like, yeah, my win for the week was that I got my taxes done. And she's like, oh, I feel so good because I had somebody else do it. And we were getting into a conversation. I was like, yeah, I'm going to post that up, man, because it's the exact same thing. And John just took that. Hey, you know what? I'm going to expand that a little bit more because one of the things that we say is, should you do it on your own? This is the whole idea behind Second Passport, right?
Yeah.
Is that we have a system, the system. It's all laid out, right? You got a plan, you got to know what your plan is, and then you have to implement. And this is where I ask people, I'm like, you got to be honest with yourself. Like, are you able to do that? And there's people that I will speak to and I'll be like, you don't need me. Like there was somebody I spoke to 3 weeks ago. And you know what they said? We were just having a conversation. And they said, oh, yeah, we've put together a spreadsheet and we're looking at different areas in Canada and we're comparing the cost of living here. And I'm like, okay, if you're going to that level of understanding and planning, you're the type of person which Second Passport's proper for, right? Because you can actually go. We give you all of the information that you need and you interact with it at a high level. So that you're able to put your stuff together, because there's people that just need little course corrections. Exactly. And I think that's, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like you'll talk to somebody and you'll be like, yeah, you know what? You can pay me to do that if you want. It's going to be more expensive, but if you want to do it, then this is another option for you. The other thing that's important to point out too, and that I like is that it really empowers people when they actually engage in the process and they understand what's going on. Using the accounting analogy, I'm not very good with accounting. I'm good with words, not good with numbers. But you're really at a vulnerable state when you actually have to go in and be like, okay, here's all my stuff, put it together, and then they're like, sign here, and I'm like, okay, can you understand this and explain that? You don't really know what's going on. So it's, there's that trust that you have to put in people. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have much else to say on that, John. How about you?
It's like I said, I'll stay with what I said before. It's all about your comfort level. And, to use an example, some of you out there may know what the working holiday visa, the IEC program is. Once, a few times a year, I get people come to me and say, do you do IEC applications? I go, no. You know why? Because they're really very easy. Just go off and do it on your own, right? I mean, no, seriously. And then if they say, if you still have problems, book a consultation with me. You can ask me questions, but you really do not need my help with that. If you want to stay longer, once you're in Canada, extend your work permit, permanent resident, maybe you'll need more help for that. But, most people who do working holiday visas, they're already, English is their native language, and so they have that leg up. And it's a matter of providing a few things and filling out a form online, and you're off to the races.
Yeah. You know what? We got a few questions here that we're going to dive into, but I wanted to say something just on that point. I had I answer the same way, and it just kind of popped into my head. I had somebody actually come to me and they wanted me to file an ETA for them. And I'm like, so an ETA is an electronic travel authorization. And if you don't need a visitor visa, like a TRV, then you could do an ETA. And it's a very simple application, and it's like $7 and you can do all this stuff. Anyways, I said the exact same thing. I'm like, you don't need me to do this. She's actually, no, I actually am not very good with computers. They freak me out and whatever. And so, I did it. I charged her pretty much nothing because I didn't want to I didn't want to take advantage of her, but I was like, it kind of made me think that there are some people where this can be a very daunting process. And you have to, she's honest with herself. She's like, look, I really don't like using computers. They freak me out. I just want you to do it for me. So, that's some things that you might want to consider. Okay. So let's dive in here. We got a few comments, which I like. Okay. Facebook user. Who's Facebook user? So hi all. Hi to you. Type in your name there, bud, just so we have you. And then we've got Yam, Alze, Laurel. Sorry, my screen. So let's say Yam. So hi, do you have any idea how long it will take for processing of the new PR pathway for international graduates? John?
Sorry for making that face. Yam, we don't know. I mean, we have no idea. The problem is that the pandemic has thrown a hand grenade into the machinery of processing with the federal government. We just don't know. It's things that were supposed to take months are taking, triple the time. I mean, it's unprecedented. So all I can say is get your application in on time and sit tight.
Yeah, and do it quickly. There's been, so we belong to a larger community of lawyers and consultants, and this has been something that has been spoken about. And quite frankly, make sure you have your stuff done quickly and you get it in quickly, because all indications are is that that's actually going to fill up very quickly. Yeah. And I think that when you ask that question, Yam, you also need to know something else. I would not have any expectation of time with that, because, in my opinion, we've got a number of different things that are going on. Well, not really my opinion. This is the reality. We've got a pandemic that's raging that we hopefully will be seeing the other side of soon. Borders are done. Government's not working from home, et cetera, et cetera. And then we've just launched these programs that are kind of going contrary to what the immigration department's tried to do for a number of years, which is reduce backlog. So hopefully that's been taken into account, and hopefully these are going to go through. And heck, it might go the other way where they're like, yeah, we got to clear these things off. Like, let's clear them out the door. So it might go very quick, but it might go slow too.
Be prepared for a long wait, and if it's done quickly, you're pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Plan for the worst. What is it? Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Yeah. So there you go. Awesome. Facebook user, that's Adam. Adam, how are you, man? Thanks for coming out. Adam's been coming out for a few days here, and actually, I really appreciate you. I know, Adam, you connected with us in the group. I was actually going to send you a PM and just say hello, private message. But we're new besties on Facebook. But thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming out consistently. So shout out to Adam. And he posted something else. I'm going to assume it's Facebook user. Been there 100%. Got my Google sheet with projected CRS scores. Yes. It's funny. I use a sheet because actually what you'll find is sometimes, depending on when you use the calculator, how you do it, sometimes you can get different scores. So that Excel doesn't tend to lie. But or maybe it does. I don't know. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Or are we going to wrap it up, John?
Well, we'll see if any other stragglers have a question or two.
Yeah, cool. I got some news for you. I got my vaccine appointment.
Nice.
Yeah, I was happy about that, actually.
I got my shot on Monday.
Did you?
Yeah.
You told me that, actually. What am I saying? Yeah. How do you feel?
I was very lucky. I had no ill effects. I felt slightly green around the edges the next morning, but otherwise I was fine.
Cool. Well, listen, let's wrap it up here, man. I don't see any other things coming in, and it'll be posted up. I'm just going to put this up here, guys. If you're interested, check out the Blueprint Challenge. This is something that we do every quarter. And I'm actually really excited about it because we do it live. So there's an on-demand version that we're just releasing, but the Immigration Blueprint Challenge, July 19th, that's a lot of fun. So what that is an hour a day of actually going through in a very structured stuff, tons of material for you to be able to plan. And then on top of it, we'll do an hour meeting as well to wrap all of that stuff up live as well. All right. So let's leave it at that. I'm going to actually put something up on the screen here real quick for everybody. Let's see here. There we go. So, guys, if you want to reach out, please join the Second Passport community. All right, because we've actually been having some very exciting meetings because we're actually planning some. I said actually a couple times. We're planning some really fun stuff to do with inside the group there. If you're interested, you can get a copy of the Second Passport book right there. Outlines everything to get off to a good start. Or if you want, you can reach out to John or myself, do a consultation. Again, John's in BC, and John specializes in a few other things that I'd like to point out, specifically BC PNP. So if you're looking at that area, John's your guy, and that's pretty much it. John, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think we're good. Just as Brandon said, join the Second Passport community. It's a great first step.
Yeah, and that's it. And it costs you nothing, and you can catch up with us on Facebook, because everybody's on Facebook, right? So, anyways, all right, let's end it there. John, man, take care. Have a great weekend, bud.
You too, Brandon. We'll talk soon, man.
Okay, take care. Have a good one.
Bye.